Good morning. Welcome back to Bible and Blues. And I hope you had a great weekend. Welcome back to my regular watchers, and I have some new watchers who, are on both sides of the aisle on the debates that I present. That sometimes I give good arguments for, sometimes I don't. But hey, that's what we do, right? So um, anyway, something showed up. I got this book on Friday, and the cover is horrid. The price was astronomical for the hardcover. It kind of tells me that the publisher didn't really want to publish it, but they put it in textbook style. But it's the New Atheist Denial of History. Okay, and look at that cover. I mean, it's just like almost hard to look at, isn't it? Okay, so it's the New Atheist Denial of History, and this is by Borden Painter, and he has his side. He's an Episcopalian priest, retired, and but he is also a historian, and has spent many years teaching history at universities. I would say he's probably authorized to discuss these things. And what he talks about in here is um, uh, he argues the works of Harris, Dawkins, Pinker, and Hitchens, among others, uh, on their best-selling books, and because these books started coming out right as he retired, and so I gave him time to read them and research them, and he does a really good job of making it legible for a layman, for laymen to understand much of this. And there's a lot of information. I'm just starting this book. I'm not a fast reader, and I don't have a lot of time to read. For me to sit down and read, I think it's one of the issues of the modern age with the internet, bullet points, reading titles and snapping judgments on them. I think it's one of the things that we've lost a lot of, is the ability to sit down with a book. Now, there's a lot of people that still have full ability to sit down with a book, and I honor that. So with busy lives and the internet, the way we do things, and looking at things on our phones and scrolling, all the stuff we do, we don't sit down and read. Okay, so I started reading. I started this on Friday night, and I'm only into page 34 here of this book. It's not a thick book. As I think a person who reads voraciously could probably get through this thing in an evening pretty comfortably. But it does bring up. There's a couple of points that I kind of wanted to bring up that talks about talks about, like, when Dawkins was writing in his book. I want to make sure I catch the correct book that he wrote. I didn't do any real study on this before I did it. However, but when he was talking about Adolf Hitler, he cited somebody who wrote, named John Toland. Okay, and here's where it says, the one historian Dawkins cites in his 7 pages on Hitler is the late writer John Toland. Toland wrote a popular biography of Hitler that appeared in 1976, Adolf Hitler. The paperback edition of 1991, apparently the one used by Dawkins, added the subtitle, The Definitive Biography. That claim stretches credulity. Like I said, I don't read that enough. For there is no definitive biography of Hitler. This is coming from a historian, not just a layman, not just a talking head like me. That claim that for there's no definitive biography of Hitler. Recent decades have spawned major works based on evidence and sources far beyond anything used by Toland. Anyone today wishing to write intelligently about Hitler would profit from sampling this historical literature, meaning the other writings. Toland himself later admitted that I've learned that the writing of history can never be definitive. He made this remark as a featured speaker in the 10th International Revisionist Conference on October 14, 1990 in Washington, D.C. His speech appears subsequently in the Journal of Historical Review, the Institute for Historical Revision that sponsored the conference and published the journal. It is, to this day, the leading organization dedicated to Holocaust denial. So, so right there, he's using a person who spoke in front of, and was asked to speak in front of Holocaust deniers, okay, from a place called Institutes for Historical Revision. So they want to rewrite history, and that's who Dawkins used for his information on Hitler, for his 7 pages that he wrote on Hitler. Another thing that really jumped out at me was for Hitchens, an outstanding example of Hitchens revising and manipulating history for his polemic purposes comes with his presentation of another major figure of the 20th century, Martin Luther King. Apparently offended that Rabbi Abraham Heschel responded to King's leadership on civil rights by likening him to one of the prophets of Israel, Hitchens gives us his own reading of King and Christianity that reads this remarkable conclusion concerning Martin Luther King. Quote, "In no real as opposed to nominal sense was he a Christian." End quote. Seriously? The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was in no real sense a Christian. That's what Hitchens wrote. And let me see here. The footnote, because this book is fully footnoted. Okay? Let me get to that part so you can look it up yourself if he actually said it. Chapter 1, that's item number 36. Hitchens, God is Not Great. Page 176. Okay? And that's where he wrote that. So, the collective view of these 3 authors presents a historical rendering of the 20th century like no other I know. It commits errors of both omission and commission by the selective use of evidence that skews, distorts, and at times misrepresents the past. Continues on in that vein. I'm going to be referring to this book quite a bit, as you can imagine. What does this have to do with the whole debate with atheism? Well, this is the concept of the new atheist, which is actually more or less who I disagree with. A basic atheist who seems to not be able to find faith or does not have a belief in God and just says, "Okay, you Christians, whatever." Typically, I'm not arguing with them. Who I'm arguing with is the militant, radical atheist. And so, if you're not one of those, this probably isn't for you. If you're not one of the Harris, Dawkins, Hitchens, Pinter fanboys who got your concept of atheism and your debates on atheism from there, this is about you, because the people you are. I'm going to continue on with this book, and if you disagree with it, fine. If you just say, like I said, without a doubt, Borden Painter is an Episcopalian priest. So yes, he is a Christian, but he's also a historian. He is a mainstream historian. So if you disagree and you think they're infallible, you found your religion. Okay, that is your religion. You have put them up on a pedestal, a very high pedestal, to the point where they can do no wrong. But it takes their concept of history that supports their argument, okay, and it really kind of breaks it down as this is false, this is misleading, this is a misportrayal. And, these things are important to remember, because if these things are misrepresenting what actually happened, and it's over and over and over again, it's not a question of, well, this was a witness, and then this witness said this, and then this witness said this. So you have 3 different witnesses viewing things differently, and you put them all in there. Well, that's why you have to have some other evidence, right? I know what's coming in the comment section, and that's fine. That's more than allowed and wonderful. The whole idea that you are taking these guys as well, to be honest, biblical truth, and you haven't researched it, and so I'm researching it, and I want to talk about it. You want to talk about Old Testament stories and whether they were true or not. You do that all the time anyway. But so that's my debate right now. That's what I'm opening with. That's what I'd love for your discussions and your points. Do you have a defense for these? Just the things that I've mentioned so far, because there's a lot more of the book that I haven't read yet. Okay, and so I mean, and if you are an atheist who doesn't read any of these guys, this doesn't pertain to you. Okay, so I mean, I do have people who get upset because I make blanket generalizations. And well, okay, maybe if the shoe fits, wear it. Okay, if it really bothers you that much, okay, fine. I don't. So, but if you're if you're one of those guys that just really, I mean, you really want to debate these things, and you think those guys wrote and they were right and they were professors, so therefore they know what they're talking about. All right, well, let's talk about that. Let's see. Take these two subjects that I just brought up. The concept of John Toland, the author that was used in Dawkins' book, and he was also used in the others. What kind of a person was he? Was he somebody that we should listen to about Adolf Hitler? And then also Hitchens' view of Martin Luther King. Let's debate those two things. If you can't debate those two things, I guess then you're just trolling. So there you go. That's my point of view on that. So, okay. You know what? We're going to go to Psalm 146 today, and we're going to read that. And so Psalm 146. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord, O my soul. I will praise the Lord all my life. I will sing praise to my God as long as I live. Do not put your trust in princes, in mortal men who cannot save. When their spirit departs, they return to the ground. On that very day their plans come to nothing. Blessed is he whose help is in the God of Jacob, whose hope is in the Lord his God, the maker of heaven and earth, the sea and everything in them. The Lord who remains faithful forever. He upholds the cause of the oppressed and gives food to the hungry. The Lord sets prisoners free. Excuse me. The Lord gives sight to the blind. The Lord lifts up those who are bowed down. And the Lord loves righteous. The Lord watches over the alien and sustains the fatherless and the widow. But he frustrates the ways of the wicked. The Lord reigns forever. Your God, O Zion, for all generations. Praise the Lord. Here is the reading of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So, thank you. Like I said, we're going to be referring to this book, The New Atheist Denial of History, fairly frequently. I've already read some things about the concepts of Stalin, and actually when he did, and why he did support the Russian Orthodox Church and the rest and other things dealing with Russian and the Russian Orthodox Church, persecution of it. And also when he flip-flopped on that for a period of time. So that is also in there. So we'll open that up for discussion another time. For today, John Toland and his writing of Adolf Hitler, the definitive biography of Adolf Hitler, and also the concept of Hitchens claiming that Martin Luther King was, in no nominal sense, a Christian. Okay? So, let's discuss those two things. Tell me what you think about that. So, anyway, you guys have a good one. I'll talk to you later.